Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for our webinar. We really appreciate it. We're really excited about what we have for you today. We have a webinar for mastering Microsoft Intune, how to secure, simplify, and scale. So we will be covering all kinds of things for you today. So once again, thanks so much for joining us. And we will go ahead and tell you a little bit about ourselves, Ridge IT. This is hosted by Ridge today. My name is Lee Bruce. I'm marketing at Ridge IT Cyber, and so I'll be hosting it for you today. And we have a wonderful expert I'll introduce in a second from Microsoft here for you. But to tell you a little bit about ourselves first, we are Ridge IT Cyber. We are a managed cybersecurity and IT firm. We are based out of Tampa. We are proud to have had the honor of making the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America for the last 3 years, actually. So we're a top ranked MSSP in the country. We also achieve Inc. Regionals honors each year. So we are really proud of that. So just wanted to give a little touch base on who we are for our new faces that are here today. And so next, I will introduce you to our speaker today. I am Perry today, so you can just call me Perry. I'm cool with that too, Lee or Perry. Perry can't join us today, but I will be your host instead. We also have Parrish Billups, who we are so grateful to have join us today from Microsoft. He's a security cloud solutions architect, and he is going to give you some really great information today. We will have that Q&A session in the end, about 15 minutes to wrap up. And so during the webinar, feel free to pop any questions that you might have in the chat, and we will get to them at the end. So now I will pass it off to you, Parrish. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Thank you, you all. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Parrish Billups, Enterprise Mobility Security Architect, Cloud Solutions Architect. Agenda today, we got a lot on our plate today, so I'm gonna try to get through this as clean as I possibly can. This was dedicated and created for Ridge. Um, so I'm here and I'm happy to go through this with you all. So essentially, this is our agenda. We'll start today by introducing our cloud management strategy, right? So that pretty much is going to highlight how Intune empowers modern device and application management in a cloud-first environment and why that approach is critical for IT and security teams. Then I'll break down the MDM or the mobile device management and the mobile application management scenario and just explaining their distinct roles in protecting corporate and BYOD devices today because, in our world, we enable you to do both, walk both paths of life. From there, we'll dive into our zero trust strategy, right? Supported by our Gartner security quadrant. I'll cover some key components such as, conditional access, BitLocker encryption, and also compliance enforcement. And then following that, we'll explore advanced management capabilities. So that includes, the additional Intune Suite, automation, analytics, and then any integration with the Microsoft security licensing, right? So we'll save all the questions at the end and, enjoy the show, right? So kicking it off, cloud management, right? So just want to go ahead and start. So organizations today, right? Organizations today face the dual challenge of improving security and reducing costs, right? While trying to deliver a better experience for employees and customers. Now, IT and security teams are under a constant pressure to, elaborate and continue the daily works of life, right? Protecting sensitive data, securing access, maintaining compliance, right? While all trying to adapt to an ever-changing threat landscape, right? Due to these new technologies that are in place. So we have to ensure that one, applications remain current and compliant throughout their life cycle. We want to provide visibility across every device, right, in your entire digital estate. And also on top of that, we want to respond quickly and effectively to emerging risk, right? All at the same time, we have to manage compliance and governance, right? Which is critical to maintaining and meeting regulatory requirements. So this is where we get into cloud endpoint management, right? So cloud endpoint management is going to offer a modern solution to these challenges, right? We're in a new world, right? And we're going to do that by leveraging the power of the cloud. And with that, organizations gain unmatched scalability. We get real-time security and we get the agility needed to stay ahead of threats. So with that approach, that's going to simplify device and application management, and it's going to reduce operational overhead, right? And that enables a proactive security mindset that protects data wherever work happens. Doesn't matter if we're in the office or we're remote. So with cloud-based tools like Microsoft Intune, businesses can consolidate management. We can streamline processes and we can deliver pretty much a consistent, secure experience across any platform. And I'll talk about that deeply as we go on into the slides, right? We're going to get deeper as we walk through this presentation today. But the result of this is going to be a future-ready strategy that not only just strengthens security, but it also drives efficiency. It's going to drive cost savings, which is huge, and it's going to empower our teams to focus on innovation and business outcomes. So this is where Microsoft introduces Intune, right? So Intune today is a leading unified endpoint management system or endpoint management solution. It's designed to help organizations keep those devices, your operating systems, and your applications secure, compliant, while performing at their top tier best, right? So what the goal we want to do is we want to consolidate endpoint management and security vendors, right? So Intune is going to reduce that complexity to give you one granular window, right? It's also going to lower your total cost of ownership because it's a license, right? So license is a part of a licensing SKU, right? And the way that you are paying for it is a little different versus upfront overhead, right? So with Intune, you can, like I said, you can manage endpoints across on-prem, cloud, mobile, and desktop. And not only that, we have virtual environments too, right? We don't leave any endpoint behind, and we can do this all from a single pane of glass, right? This includes these Windows devices that are first tier, right? That's pretty much our level. That includes Mac OS devices, that includes iOS devices, mobile, that includes Android mobile. This also includes Linux devices, right? And it's going to give us that flexibility for diverse enterprise needs, right? Um, Now, with that unified approach is going to simplify administration, right? We don't want to give you too many tools to touch the different platforms. There's no reason for that. So Intune is going to prioritize productivity, right? Not only that, it's going to prioritize productivity by enabling zero-touch deployment, right? Which is it's a streamlined deployment where we can run management and enrollment in bulk. It also is going to streamline mobile application management, and it's going to give you proactive insights powered by cloud intelligence, Microsoft Cloud Intelligence. So that means that, IT teams can now deliver a seamless experience for the end user while still maintaining control and compliance across the whole digital estate, right? Enrollment is going to be half the battle. So whether you're modernizing management, strengthening your security posture, or just trying to optimize your performance, Intune is going to provide the agility, the scalability, and pretty much in a bulk in one pane required for today's hybrid workforce. So then we're going to talk about the actual modern environment. So actually managing the modern environment, right? Managing endpoints today is no small task, right? because we have the introduction of what we have of cloud technology. So we have countless devices which are connected across your digital estate. They could be anywhere, right? The complexity of securing and managing them, it grows as technology moves forward, right? And grows and evolves. And that's where pretty much Intune comes in. And Intune is going to deliver that integrated endpoint management experience across the board that's designed to maximize productivity, right? Like I said, you're going to get simplified administration, and you're going to pretty much keep your workforce at the center of the user experience. And with that, the Intune Suite takes this even further, right? By pretty much eliminating the need for multiple point solutions and pretty much integrating projects and give you simplicity um, through through advanced management capabilities, right? So those capabilities include like detecting hidden patterns, right? Giving you troubleshooting issues within real time in a real-time diagnostics and reporting, right? You can also respond to incidents faster using generative AI, right? So this is going to give you and your organization a means to stay ahead of threats. It's going to give you a means to maintain compliance and also deliver, like I said, that seamless experience for your users, right? That's what it's about today. So I know you're saying, okay, well, you know, why do I want this? Why do I want this? Right? So pretty much today, in today's workplace, it's shaped by evolving work habits, right? We're going to have increasing security threats due to the posture and the nature of the world globally and how technology has evolved today. It's not gonna get any worse. It's not gonna get any better. It's gonna get worse. So we're going to have increased the security threats, and then we're going to have a growing mix of devices. We're in a state or in a stance where every organization is not just a in office scenario anymore, right? That's going to add to the complexity of our technology teams, our IT teams, right? So organizations need solutions that simplify management while strengthening security and reducing cost, right? And that's what Microsoft Intune pretty much delivers real value. So Intune is going to integrate across your whole Microsoft 365 estate and your security portfolio. And that's going to create a unified, cost-effective approach to endpoint management. And it's going to integrate and pretty much give you a clear path to simplify those complex IT processes, which I'll talk through deeply later in the slides, right? It's going to strengthen your device security posture. And then on top of that, you'll realize a significant cost saving by consolidating point solutions, right? You gathering or getting into a M365 E3 or E5 license, right? You're getting a holistic product, right? You're not just getting management, right? Um, and just instead of juggling multiple tools and, in expensive integration projects, Intune is going to help you streamline those operations and free up resources, right? So beyond simplification, Intune also is going to leverage next generation management capabilities and AI driven insights, right? We now have agents that are accessible within the Intune console. These are Copilot agents that are accessible in the Intune console. So those advanced features are going to enable your teams to, like I said, proactively detect, optimize, perform, and respond, right? And that, like I said, it's gonna keep doing that while maintaining a user experience, because that's what it's all about, not interrupting the user experience, right? Now we're gonna get into management, right? This is where we talk about management capability, right? So I'll go ahead and break down MDM and BAM capabilities, right? So we have mobile device management and we have mobile application management, right? I'll start with corporate first, right? MDM. So managing devices and applications in today's environment, it requires these two understandings and key approaches, right? It's going to be that MDM segment and it's going to be that the MAM or mobile application management segment, right? So MDM is going to focus on managing the entirety of the device, right? This is going to be the hardware, the operating system, all install apps, right? It's going to enforce device level security, like, passcodes, encryption, configuration settings, such as, Wi-Fi, virtual private network profiles, certificates, you name it, all on the device level. This is going to give you, or it's going to allow you to control it, as in, we can give device actional functions like remote lock, wiping of a device if it's lost or stolen. So when we think of the MDM concept, it's ideal for corporate-owned device management or environments that demand full compliance and controls over regular over that ultimately over the whole device simplistically, right? Now, when we get into MAM, on the other hand, or mobile application management, this secures only specific apps and the data without managing the entirety of the device. So we have the device level and then we have the application level. It applies app level policies like, copy paste restrictions, or enforcing conditional access based upon approved application, right? Or managed application, right? Um, and you can also enable selective wipe on of the corporate data without even touching the personal application data on the same app, right? So MAM is the MAM strategy is perfect for BYOD scenarios, protecting corporate data while still respecting the end user's privacy on that device. And it makes a great fit for like hybrid work and personal device usage, right? Both approaches do serve different needs, right? Like MDM delivers that strong oversight for full compliance, while MAM offers flexibility and privacy for personal devices. So choosing that right strategy depends on your organization's security requirements and your user experience goals. Now, when we get into the MDM segment, we do have the corporate owned device enrollment methods, right? When we talk about this, it strategically breaks down into enrollment method, and it breaks down into per platform, what are you going to do? How are you going to enroll that device, right? So ultimately, we have something called a device enrollment manager, or a DEM account. I would think of this as a service account. It's essentially a role that allows bulk enrollment of corporate devices across all platforms. And pretty much once a device is enrolled through that DEM account, it automatically marks that device as a corporate device in the properties, which is critical for applying the right compliance and security policies for that device, right? For Apple devices, um, make sure to pop. Yep. If you got any questions, feel free to. If you got any questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. For Apple devices, enrollment can happen through what we call, and I'm gonna get a little deep here. Uh, Apple Automated Device Enrollment Program, which was formerly known as the DEP program. We can use the Apple School Manager, or we can use manually the Apple Configurator, right? So those couple of methods typically use identifiers like the IMEI number or the serial number, right? That just makes sure that the device is recognized as a corporate device within Intune, right? On the Android side, it's a little different, right? We have several options under Android Enterprise, right? That could include corporate-owned device with a work profile, right? Fully managed device, a dedicated device profile. There's also some zero-touch enrollment methods that can be considered depending on who is the original equipment manufacturer, right? Samsung Knox Mobile Enrollment, Google Zero Touch. I think Zebra has some. Um, so Android is a little different from iOS due to Android containerizes its data different than iOS does. So the enrollment, they have a lot more lucrative enrollment methods. And then for Windows, the story is pretty much similar to the previous as I mentioned, but the way that you get there is a little different, right? Because it is a Windows machine. We can simply use co-management. We can use autopilot if we need to streamline provisioning or a streamlined cloud provisioning method, which, that that'll ensure that the devices are either Microsoft Intune joined or they're hybrid joined, right? Not just registered so they meet enterprise compliance standards. So in short, like I said, the DIM account, that's going to simplify your onboarding, by making sure every device, whether it's an Apple, Android, or Windows device, is properly enrolled, marked as a corporate machine, and just ready for policy enforcement under that zero trust framework. Right. Now, moving on, one of the major one of the major features from the Windows side that needs to be highlighted, of course, is going to be autopilot, right? Um, in reference to the device lifecycle management, autopilot is going to give you a lot of significant benefits, by just transforming how organizations manage endpoints in a modern, efficient way. So pretty much, and I can go on for this slide, but in this instance, when we talk about autopilot, we're eliminating the need for maintaining custom images and drivers. That wipes that phase completely out, right? Um, we're definitely with that we're going to pretty much reduce complexity, and it minimizes the time spent on manual updates, right? So IT, we at this point, we no longer need to physically handle the device, right? Which at that point now we're streamlining deployment and we're going to lower operational overhead, right? So then it just shifts the thinking process to a kind of like seamless approach for both your IT and your end users, because your end users do have some type of workflow they do have to go through in order to boot the device on. But it's going to improve productivity and overall the user experience. And then you have the integration within the device supply chain, which then ensures that the device arrives pre-configured and then ready for immediate business use, right? So essentially, you have a partner portal. Those hashes get uploaded to a partner portal. The partner sends you those devices. They're already in your tenant. You give them out. They turn the computer on. The only thing that the IT team is responsible for is pre-deploying out the configuration profile or configuration policies to the assigned intra-group that those machines are in. So after that, it's pretty much golden. And then from that point, if they leave, we can just quickly reset the devices to back to a business ready state without, an extensive reconfiguration. Um, you know, Easily just pushing out a device action like as I mentioned before, like a wipe, right? So that's pretty much where we're at today. Um, Ultimately, that's just going to give us or give our IT teams a lot more time to focus on the future and not current, right? Um, Anything strategic rather than the repetitive task of imaging or the repetitive task of going through an OSD process, right? We don't want you to be there anymore. We want to drive innovation and operational excellence across the enterprise. So, with that being said, right? You got to think about it like this. 20 years ago, and even 10 years ago, an endpoint was just simply the desktop computer sitting in an office cubicle. Now, today, the definition of an endpoint has expanded dramatically. This is all I know, okay? Specifically, I work with iOS and Android devices all day. So it's not just a laptop or a computer anymore. It's a phone, it's an iPad, it's a Surface Hub in the meeting room, and even Teams rooms devices, right? HoloLens devices, right? The any wearables that that you use or rely on every day. These are endpoints. So work no longer happens in one place. It, like I stated before, it shifts between the office, the cafeteria, home, right? And managing this diverse ecosystem of devices it can seem complex, but really there's a simpler way. There's a simpler way. So just imagine having a single solution that provides visibility, and actionable recommendations and data-driven insights, right? Whether the device is company owned or personal. Um, you know, and with AI powered guidance, Intune's going to help organizations increase IT efficiency and then reduce the total cost, because that's what it's all about, reducing the total cost of device management and ownership, right? That's where we're at today. That's where we're at today. And we definitely want to simplify your IT process, right? Over the past few years, the environments have grown increasingly. It's so complex, and many organizations have responded by adopting multiple point solutions to address individual challenges. Um, which we don't want you to do. While that's good, right, in the short term, it often leads to pretty much fragmented management and higher operational overhead. We don't want that, right? So this is where we introduce 365, Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 is a combined security service solution, of course, with a holistic management solution, right? A holistic capability, which offers streamlined integration, endpoint management, and security pretty much into one single cloud power solution. Right? That's where I live at today. And I'll talk about that a lot more when we get into the enterprise mobility plus security part. That is where that's my sweet spot. That's where I live. And with Intune, which is a part of that, Intune is actually the core of that. Um, Organizations gain that simplified management capability um, well, they gain that management capability and versatility, um, and they base that on the architecture and devices being managed today. There's flexible pricing plans, which there's flexible pricing plans, which I'll go into deeper depth when we get into licensing. But by leveraging Intune and the value of Intune's portfolio, you're pretty much enhancing your visibility and you're enforcing your compliance and you're improving your security posture, right? Now, here we go. So moving on, shifting our focus, right, from simplifying endpoint management to addressing the growing security challenges, right? Because endpoint management is just one piece. App management is just one piece, right? Management in general, update management, any management around the endpoint or the client machine. That's one piece with multiple moving parts. Now you have to address the growing security challenges of protecting that workforce, right? So with the increasing frequency and sophistication of these cyber attacks, coupled with larger attack surface areas now and a wide variety of devices now, safeguarding data and identities probably could feel a little overwhelming today in an IT organization or organizations, period, for your IT teams. So here at Microsoft, the goal is to provide employees with a secure yet seamless experience, right? And like I said, Intune is going to be the man right in the middle for that. Intune is going to play a critical role as a part of Microsoft's integrated security ecosystem, right? It's going to reduce complexity, right? And it's going to enable collaboration with your security operations team, and it's going to keep productivity high. Pretty much an example is, end users can securely access corporate resources through continuous assessment and intent-based policies. Like we got application protection policies, um, and we got conditional access policies, right? So that's going to ensure organizational data remains safe within a managed app, the managed device, which verifying who you are, what device you're on, right? And additionally, we have those generative AI capabilities now, um, which security analysts can pretty much accelerate the detection and the response of a threat. So now we're talking about the reduction of remediation time. And now that gives us the ability to allow them to focus on high value tasks, right? So this is going to walk us straight into the zero trust strategy, right? This walks us straight into the zero trust strategy. Now, when we talk about the world today is driven by rapid technology advancements, right? It's just going to get even more advanced, right? And a workforce that operates both inside and outside the office, that creates new challenges for endpoint management and cost control, right? So what you want to do, adopting a zero trust strategy isn't just a smart move for security, it's cost effective, right? Some numbers up top. In fact, about 78% of the organizations report that zero trust investments account for less than a quarter of their total cybersecurity budget, right? While awareness of zero trust continues to grow, there remains a huge gap in implementation. There's a huge gap in implementation across multiple organizations, right? Um, that's requiring organizations to pretty much evaluate their approach to reducing risk, and that pretty much adds more complexity on top of the complexity that's already there, right? Um, Now, AI technologies are becoming more accessible and sophisticated, which means that malicious actors will increasingly exploit vulnerabilities using AI-driven attacks, which is so horrible. You're going to see this a lot, right? Their attacks are easy to create now. Um, so business leaders now are now looking for a way to kind of consolidate, simplify, and cut costs, all while trying to safeguard massive amounts of data and maintaining operational resilience, right? And this is where we get into detection and protection, right? Which falls right in Intune, right? So when we talk about detection and protection, the Intune Suite delivers integration on multiple levels, right? Across its own components with Microsoft 365. It pretty much overlaps with other products, right? And other security assets. So it's going to create a unified security and management ecosystem. Um, and that is super critical for zero trust strategy because it minimizes vulnerability, and not just vulnerability, but vulnerable endpoints. And it ensures consistent enforcement of security policies across that management estate, which means your devices, your applications, and your identities, right? Um, so Microsoft has intentionally created this way um, to provide end-to-end protection for users, your information technology team, and your security operations, right? So by consolidating that data into like this unified, consistent framework, you all get better security analytics. You all get visibility into potential vulnerabilities and anomalies. And then you have centralized actionable insights all in one place, right? That's going to enhance the ability to assess, manage, and respond to those risks across the entire device landscape. So this is going to reinforce that zero trust principle of continuous verification and least privilege access while simplifying security operations, right? So let's talk about the principles, right? There's always going to be three principles of which all frameworks are going to be kind of written off of, right? And when it comes to a security strategy, we need guidelines, right? We need guidelines, or we need some type of principles to follow. It doesn't matter if a fan of the NIST framework. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of hence, i.e., compliance framework, right? GDPR. You need some type of principle to follow. Um, and within us, zero trust provides three core principles that provide or that shape how we protect data, the identities, and the endpoints. And the first principle is that we need to verify explicitly, which means that we want to always authenticate and authorize based on all available data points, right? So that's going to include the user identity. That's going to include the location the user is coming from. That's going to include the device that the location is in that the user is located in. That's going to include the service that the user is using through this tenant location, right? That's going to include the workload. That's going to include any anomaly, data classifications. I can go on and on, right? And that's pretty much powered through Intune and conditional access, right? And also device compliance checks, right? That's a huge one. Verifying who it is, what is it doing, right? The second principle is, using the least privilege access, right? Which just limits the user's access with, we have just in time, or, just enough access, right? You'll see the term JIT, JIT, um, to protect both the data and productivity, right? So Intune supports this through endpoint privilege management and role-based access control, one of which is Intune Plan 1, the other is an Intune Suite feature, right? And that's going to allow you to manage who has access to resources and what actions they can perform. And then the third one is you always want to assume breach all the time. You always want to assume breach. So with you assuming breach, your mindset is, okay, we need to focus on minimizing the blast radius. We need to focus on minimizing the blast radius of each breach and preventing lateral movement, right? So that includes using BitLocker to ensure data at rest on endpoints they're encrypted, reducing the risk if a device is lost, stolen, or compromised, right? That's really important. So Intune is going to reinforce those principles through device configuration options and deploying security policies via, you can do this Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, or you can do this in the Intune console. And together, those principles form a foundation of a zero trust strategy, right? Now, moving along, digging into a deeper concept of conditional access, right? I love talking about CA. Now, when it comes to the verification process on our first principle, conditional access is a capability of Microsoft Intra ID. If you don't know what Microsoft Intra ID is, Microsoft Intra is your identity library, of which Intune uses on the back end, right? And that's going to enable you to enforce controls on the access to apps in your environment based on specific conditions from a centralized location, right? Security is a huge concern for every organization that's using the cloud. A key aspect of cloud security is identity and access management. And when it comes to managing your cloud resources in a mobile first, cloud first world, um, users can access your organization resources using a variety of devices and a variety of apps from anywhere. So as a result of that, just focusing on who can access a resource is not just is it's not sufficient anymore. Uh, in order to master the balance between security and productivity, professionals pretty much need to factor how a resource is being accessed into an access control decision. And with intra conditional access, you can pretty much address those requirements, right? Pretty much at the core of conditional access policy is a policy engine that can integrate with Intune, like I said. Also, Microsoft Cloud App Security um, and Microsoft Defender can also integrate with that as well, right? Now, moving along to encryption, right? Um, Now, when we talk about zero trust, another key component of the strategy is not only access management, um, it's the encryption of the data at rest, right? So this is what we get in BitLocker. And BitLocker is one of those key components of this strategy, right? Um, it's going to encrypt the entire device, right? BitLocker is going to prevent unauthorized access if a laptop is lost or stolen. And its pre-boot authentication and integrity checks protect against offline attacks, right? So kind of locks it down um, across the board. It does integrate seamlessly with Intra or Entra ID, right? Where, if you need to recover keys that are stored securely, you can do that. Um, you can also use BitLocker as a compliance signal for a check for conditional access. So that's a huge one. Um, and then, combined with Intune, organizations can pretty much enforce encryption requirements and monitor compliance centrally, right? And that matters because, every 60 seconds, a note here, every 60 seconds, a laptop is stolen and over, 600K laptops are lost annually. So, you know, BitLocker, mitigates these risks aligning with zero trust principles, right? Never trust, always verify. Never trust, always verify, right? So, so let's take a moment, right, to consider the impact of endpoint experiences on the people in your organization, right? For many organizations, complex endpoint management and security solutions can create huge challenges, right? Like I mentioned before, managing access to corporate systems, or losing productivity due to downtime from updates, right? That's a huge common one. And policy changes, right? That can probably prevent compliance. Who knows? Um, so Microsoft's perspective is that endpoint management should not only empower IT, but security teams, right? But also deliver better, like I said, better user experience, right? And it doesn't matter what the role is, whether that's a CIO working across multiple platforms or a help desk admin needing to streamline tools, right? Intune was built with that approach in mind, right? It's going to provide you insights into your user experiences so you can proactively support productivity and resolve those issues before they escalate. Now, this is where we get into end user satisfaction, right? Intune improves end user satisfaction by enhancing overall experiences, right? It's made to boost productivity and ensure that device and application security are put in place. Um, it strikes the right balance between convenience, user convenience, and IT control through features like application protection, right? Still giving the users its privacy while still maintaining corporate data on the app level and not the actual the endpoint, right? Additionally, in like I said, Intune endpoint analytics, that it's gonna give you that valuable insight into how your organization is working and the quality of the user experience, right? So this is where we get into uh, the analytics helping identify policies or hardware issues that may slow down a device. Um, you can check for device health, right? And just enabling proactive improvements before users pretty much call you and submit a help desk ticket, which we don't want. We want to kind of put that, minimize that, right? Which is pretty good. That's built into the portal. Now, let's talk about the Microsoft difference, right? The integrated value of Microsoft security, which includes Intune and Microsoft 365, as I mentioned before, it creates a comprehensive and cohesive security approach. And that unified approach not only strengthens your cybersecurity team, it strengthens productivity, compliance, but it also simplifies IT operations, right? while delivering, like I said, that user-centric experience. A key advantage is that the Microsoft Security Graph, which provides like those shared alerts and signals across the entire security landscape of Microsoft products. That's pretty much the biggest thing that we have is Microsoft Graph. Um, and that pretty much means that threats detected in one solution, which probably could be Defender or Intune, right, can inform and enhance protections in other products. That enables us to, have a faster response and coordinate remediation, right? There is a dual alert system within Intune. Well, I'm sorry, within Defender, as far as Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps, and Defender for Endpoint, which all it has to be configured, but it's still great. It gives you that unified alert system. So if you catch it in one, you catch it in all. All right. Now, as noted on the prior slide, Intune's integration points across the Microsoft security portfolio are closely connected, right? It's closely connected, um, creating that unified approach, right? Um, Now, together, Intune, Defender, and Sentinel, that's going to deliver a comprehensive security ecosystem that pretty much spans endpoint management, threat protection, detection response, and centralized security information and event management. And that's going to help organizations kind of defend against modern cybersecurity or cyber threats and respond quickly to incidents, right? Additionally, we do have the integration between Intune and Purview, which provide visibility into where data resides across the digital estate. And that allows organizations to manage information securely across platform, apps, and cloud with that data governance. This is where we get into security sensitivity labels. I got a question. Is Purview attack on service paid for, or is this their basic license for? If you want Purview, I believe you would have to have an E5, M365 E5. It's independent outside of Intune's SKU, but if you're E5, you should have Purview. If you're E3, you don't have Purview. It kind of falls in that Defender SKU, Joshua. Um, yeah, no problem. So yeah, um, that integration approach is pretty much it's going to, like I said, simplify the operations and strengthen security and improve user experience. And that's pretty much what the biggest highlight. If you don't take anything else from me today, it's IT operation, strengthening security experience, and then improving user experience. Right. Now, some when it comes to the holistic approach to Microsoft 365 Suite and advanced Microsoft security features. We've taken those capabilities and enabled some scenarios that only Microsoft Intune and Intune Suite can deliver. For example, when employees need to support, remote help provides a simple, integrated, and secure experience both for the helpers and workers that have intra ID identity and need to be touched via that's not via in office. Um, we also have Defender for Endpoint and Tunnel for mobile application management, which, you know, users can trust that their personal information remains private while work data is protected through Microsoft Edge or just any type of line of business app. We do have a new enterprise app catalog that gives IT the confidence that, app deployment is secure because, the content is hosted in Azure, right? Additionally, we do have anomaly detection within advanced endpoint analytics, which is cool. That prioritizes the issues based on defender security risk. And, just leveraging our experience in creating seamless Windows applications and understanding real world threats, Microsoft pretty much built a native endpoint elevation solution with the security controls across organizations for organizations' needs. This is intriguing. This is what I really wanted to talk about. Now, the vulnerability remediation agent. This lives in Intune if you have Security Copilot. Security Copilot is additional. outside of your Intune SKU. But it's pretty much going to provide you a powerful visibility into device security by leveraging data from Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. It's going to give you those common vulnerability and exposure data, those CVEs, across your managed endpoints. And not only that, it prioritizes those findings for remediation, and it gives you a step-by-step guidance to help your team use Intune to address the threats quickly, right? Because you get the threats within Defender, but you have to address those threats with policy, right? And that's how this keeps your security team and your management, your IT team talking, right? That's very cool. Very, very cool. Now, this is just a diagram that shows the transition of modern management, right? The diagram pretty much just illustrates the journey of transitioning from traditional management to modern management using Microsoft technologies. You always want to start with adopting and connect phase, where we implement foundational steps such as using Entra Connect, right? That's the first step. And then you want to adopt your M365 apps and upgrading from lower level Windows device to Windows 11. Their organizations can move to modern practices like moving from imaging to autopilot and shifting from WSUS to auto patch, right? Also converting from group policy to MDM. Cool. All right, moving forward. And an important benefit of moving to the cloud, I'll note this, is you get increased resiliency, right? So organizations that modernize can manage all endpoints through a simple single pane of glass. That's what we want you to do while you're using Intune. We don't want to give you too many tools. We do have our predecessor configuration manager, but we're starting to come to a place where you're needing to go native Entra, and you're going to need Intune for compliance and conditional access security checks, right? Um, Although hybrid does exist, right, and co-management is a great walk for the transition. Transitioning to full cloud native management during device refresh cycles is probably like the best thing to do, right, for moving forward. Um, so for new Windows endpoints, the best practice is just to provision those using Windows Autopilot, which just simplifies deployment. And I'll talk about advanced management, right? Advanced management capabilities. Couple things I do want to talk about here, right? Microsoft's core value in unified endpoint management is pretty much to bring key IT and security workloads together. That's the whole point of Intune. We want people to talk. We don't want people to be siloed. We want people to work together, right? And that's going to deliver that seamless and secure end user experience, right? When we have both teams together. Now, this integration with M365 and security services is going to give us that unique advantage, like, Intra ID for identity and access control, threat remediation through Defender, and then application protection policies through Intune. And then we have deep cloud management for Windows. So only Microsoft can offer that, right? At the same time, we do recognize that customers can often operate in multi-vendor environments, and there's a need to address specialized circumstances, right? For example, remote assist might come from TeamViewer, and endpoint privilege management might come from Beyond Trust, right? Um, Similarly, BlackBerry has a UEM that integrates into the ecosystem, and we can look at that as a compliance partner, right? So we do have handshakes with other adjacent solutions. Don't think that it just weeds it out. We can integrate pretty much seamlessly with anybody across the board. Right. The Intune suite. So moving forward, when we talk about advanced management, we do have the Intune suite, right? Now, Intune suite, we're really looking at how it takes endpoint management to the next level by combining security, compliance, productivity, and a lot more other solutions, right? At its core, Intune Suite does include endpoint privilege management, which that's going to allow organizations to enforce the least privilege principle. We do have advanced analytics, which provides deep insight into device performance and user experience. We also have remote help, which I mentioned before, which gives us the benefit of integrating remote assistance for Windows devices, also for Android devices, which is pretty cool, right? We do have Microsoft Tunnel for mobile application management, right? Delivering that secure VPN access for mobile apps. And then, of course, on top of that, we have application protection policies and conditional access, right? Um, this is all aligned with zero trust principles and together pretty much with these capabilities, it empowers organizations to simplify management, right? Then we have the licensing. Now the licensing is broken down in a certain way, which I mentioned before when I highlighted Joshua's question, right? When we break down our licensing, Microsoft 365 Enterprise provides pretty much a comprehensive suite. So that's going to include it breaks down into Microsoft 365 apps, the enterprise mobility plus security license SKU, and then you have the Windows 10 and 11 license SKU, all of which combined together make the M365 license, right? So you have E3, which focuses on the core and management capabilities, and then you have the E5, which focuses on security capabilities, right? Um, Now in my world, this is where I live. Totally in my world, this is where I live. Um, this is the core. This is the core. The enterprise mobility license queue is the enterprise mobility plus the security license queue, SKU is the core, which is a comprehensive set of cloud-based solutions to secure identities, devices, and data, right? While still giving you that enablement for productivity. Right, so that's going to include Entra, Intune. That's going to include Microsoft Information Protection, Microsoft Defender for Identity, and Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. Now, broken down, these are some Intune plans. They actually added some. Um, we added some plans. So the Intune Suite builds on the Plan One. Plan One is what you get on the E3 SKU, right? To deliver advanced capabilities. Now, Intune Plan 2 adds that capability of the tunnel for mobile app management and mobile firmware update management. Um, and then additionally, you can, add on a security copilot license. And you can provision security compute units to run security copilot workloads within Intune. So that's pretty cool too. All right. So to close, I'm going to close here. Um, so Intune is a strategic solution, right? Um, Intune was made to reduce complexity, right? It's going to strengthen your security, and like I said, at the end of the day, it's going to deliver that better user experience. It streamlines devices and application management through this one unified approach that simplifies work streams. And that just makes it easier for IT and security teams pretty much to maintain control. We want them to talk. Um, so we're giving them a single pane. Um, by implementing that zero trust framework and leveraging Intune's deep integration across the Microsoft Security and Microsoft 365 portfolio, organizations ensure that data protection through encryption and access controls are pretty much in planning. And Intune is going to reinforce those principles of never trust, always verify. Yep. Now I know we got 1 minute to spare, but do we have any questions?
Any questions? You can just pop them there in the chat. And thank you so much, Paris. That was really great information, very informative. What we can do as well is when I send the recording out, I will add a opportunity in there for quick questions to be asked if anyone thinks of anything after this event, as you're kind of reflecting on all the info that you got. There will be a way for the recording email that you can pop any questions, and we'll get it directed to Parrish and any of our account executives as well that can help you. So do look for that email of the recording that we'll send out after the event. And as well, I just want to thank you again, Parrish. Really great presentation. Really appreciate your time today. And it's really just enjoyable experience listening to you as well, because you're really great way to make all this information come together for us today. And then as well, if there are no other questions, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday. We will continue our webinar series next year as well. So have a happy holiday in the meantime, and we'll see you again next year for our next event. Thank you.
All right, team.
Thanks, Parrish.
All right, Lee. See you.
Bye.